Chapter 55 of the Plum and the Golden Vase. Chongzhen version of the embroidered portrait. Simon King celebrates his birthday twice, and Mao Yuan Yinuo sends the singing boy away. The word says, the teacher and his family meet each other, and they are like fish and water, monarchs and ministers, and they must always have little trust. The fortune is 1,000, the good times are 5, and the elders are born in Songyu. The emperor sent the Fuanzongsh, and people admired the Yongronglang temple. May your life be as long as the mountains. But he said that after medical officer Ren checked his pulse, he still went to the hall and sat down. Simon King then said, I wonder what the cause of this disease is. Medical officer Ren said, Madam, this disease is caused by careless postpartum treatment. Her eyes are dirty, her face is yellow, and her diet is not enough. It's important, and I feel tired when I move around. In my humble opinion, I should be careful and take care. The pulse in both hands of my wife is weak, but not real, and the symptoms are caused by inflammation of the liver and internal organs, deficiency of earth and excessive wood, and excessive blood flow. If it is not cured now, it will not happen in the future. After saying this, Simon King said, What kind of medicine should I use now? Medical officer Ren said, I only use a medicine to clear fire and stop bleeding. Cortex, philodendron, and anamarina. For the sake of you, I will add or subtract some of the rest. Just eat it and watch it, and it will be fine. After Simon King heard this, he asked the book boy to seal him a couple of silver coins and send it to medical officer Ren to make a medicine book. And then medical officer Ren thanked him. After a while, the medicine was delivered, and Li Pinger decocted it and took it in his room. Let us say that Simon King sent medical officer Ren off and came back to talk to Earl Ying. The Earl said, This morning, Li San and Huang Si came and said that he was in urgent need of money for this fragrant family, and repeatedly asked me to come and beg him. At least, I will help him in this step. Simon King said, Since we are in such a hurry, I have no choice but to rely on you. Just ask him to come and redeem it tomorrow. At the same time, he asked the Earl to go to the small volume shed and leave him to eat. The Earl asked, Is Li Geyer still living here? It's time for him to go to Tokyo. Simon King said, Exactly. I am waiting to send him to Yangzhou. I'm afraid he will only arrive in the morning or evening. After that, let's have dinner and don't go, Earl. The next day, when he came back from Simon King Yemen, the Count was already sitting in the hall with Li Zi and Huang Si waiting. Seeing Simon King coming back, they all hurriedly came over to see him. Simon King went in and changed his clothes, then asked Yunyang to take out the 250 taels of silver that the Zhu family had asked for, and added another 250 taels to it. He asked Chen Jingji to take it, and went to the hall to exchange it with Li Sen and Huang Si, because he said, I don't have any money, so because my second brother asked me again and again, I have to give it to you. But I want it. Li San said, I asked my father to help me. How dare I delay? Now that this batch of money is released, once I didn't dare to touch my cents, so I just sent them all over. So I cashed in the money and thanked him profusely. The Earl was about to leave, but was left behind by Simon King. As he was sitting talking, he saw Ping Enter come in and announce, Lai Bao is back from Tokyo. The Count said, I told you yesterday that it was time to come. After a while, Lai Bao came into the hall and knelt with Simon King. Simon King asked, Have you seen Father's Eye? What's going on with Sister Li Gui? Lai Bao said, Young man, I met Father's Eye in person. After Father's Eye saw his book, he immediately asked the squad leader to take Tier and Lieutenant Zhu. He said that the younger one also followed, and Tai Wei Zhu personally said, Since they are all assigned to the Grand Master's mansion, they should be released because they were sent by Tai Wei Liu Wang and it is difficult to return them. If they are not here, they will be released. Forget it. If you have it, you will be detained for a while. He has a bad temper, but when he becomes more honest, he will be given a lighter sentence. Qi Xiang'er is also free of charge. This little slut is blessed. Lai Bo said, I wish I could only give him a few blows. He took out Butler's Eye. Hand over the book. Simon King looked at it and said, Old son and Chu Mazi never even dreamed of the favors I have here. The Earl said, Brother, you can only treat me as a sinner. Lai Bo added, Dad's I saw the young one. I was so happy to go and asked my father if he could go to celebrate his birthday with me tomorrow. The younger one said no, so he had to agree. I dared to come. Dad, I said. It doesn't matter if you come or not. I want to go with you. Dad will meet you for a while. Simon King said. I didn't plan to go there myself. Since I said that, I had to go for a walk. He told the bailiff, thank you for your hard work. Come and have some wine. Let's eat and have a rest. We'll have to rush to Yangzhou in a day or two. Hum to Baoyangwu. Simon King was about to go in and talk to Sister Li Gui, and said to the Earl, sit down and I'll come. The Earl was also going to look for Li Sen and Huang Si, and took the opportunity to say, I'll go and come back later. They said goodbye, go. When Simon King came to Yunyang's room, Sister Li Gui already knew the letter, and hurriedly came over to kowtow to Simon King and Yunyang, saying thanks. It's rare that my parents took the trouble to save me from this disaster. How can I repay my parents? Yunyang said, since you are having trouble in our house, there are some things that I don't want to deal with. So why are you here? Sister Gui said, I relied on my parents to save me, and I only had good luck with Qi Xiang'er. What does that little slut have to do with him? Even he was spared. His family was making money and it frightened us. So I just said a favor to him and shouldn't spare him. Simon King smiled and said, this little whore is really blessed. After saying this, Sister Gua was about to leave the house and said, my mother doesn't know about this letter yet. Let's go to my house and tell him. Remember, come and kowtow to your parents again. Simon King said, that's fine. I won't keep you. You go home and say goodbye. Yunyang said, Sister Gui, go and have dinner. Sister said, Mom, I don't want to eat anymore. At the same time, Ji said goodbye to Simon King and Yunyang. Before leaving, Simon King said, the matter is over. From now on, Wang Sangguan will not recruit him anymore. Sister Gui said, what did Dad say? He is still recruiting him. If you want to recruit him again. Just his body was rotten. Even the day before yesterday, I didn't recruit him. Yunyang said, I just didn't recruit him. What's the point of making an oath? She called for a sedan and sent Sister Gui away. Simon King told Yunyang that he was going to Tokyo. Yunyang said, since we are going, we need to prepare things early to avoid the rush. Simon King said, the embroidered python robes, golden flower treasures, and birthday gifts are all ready, but my luggage is not ready. Yunyang said, it doesn't matter about your luggage. After Simon King finished speaking, he went to the front to see Li Pinger. The next day, he sat in the scroll shed and called Chen Jingji. He looked at the book written by Kai Yeshi, handed it over to Lai Bao, and arranged for him to get up early tomorrow and rush to Yangzhou without mentioning it. A few days later, seeing that Grand Master Kai's birthday was approaching, he had no choice but to choose an auspicious day and ordered the 4 boys, Qin Tong, Dian, Shatong, and Painting Boy, to follow him and pack their luggage. Yunyang, together with Yulu and Jinlian, packed more than 20 loads of various gifts, crowns, clothes, and practical things. On the evening of the first day, the wives and concubines ranged wine and food to see Simon King off. After finishing the wine, we went to Yunyang's room to rest for the night. The next day, I sent out my 20-carry luggage first, and was given a passing horse tag. I passed by the post and handed it to my husband and horse to see him off. Everyone got ready, then went into Li Pinger's room, looked at Brother Guan, and said to Li Pinger, take good care of yourself. If you want medicine, ask someone to ask Dr. Ren for it. I will come home to see you soon. Li Pinger said with tears, be careful on the road. He was sent out of the hall and sent out of the door together with Yunyang, Yulu and Jinlian. Simon King rode in a sedan chair, and 4 young men rode in Tuku, looking forward to Tokyo. During the meandering journey, I had to climb Zemo in the morning and stay at the post office at night. I saw some beautiful mountains and rivers along the way. All I met were civil and military officials from all walks of life, who came to Beijing to celebrate their birthdays. There were countless birthdays. We made an appointment for about 10 days and arrived in Tokyo early. After entering the Wanshu city gate, it was getting late, so I rushed to the foot of the archway on Long Street and went to Jai's house to stay. When butlers I heard that Simon King had arrived, he he hurriedly came out to greet him and exchange greetings with each other. After having tea, Simon King asked Diane to hand over the luggage one by one to Jai's house. After Jin handed over the money to the government, he set out wine and washed the dust with Simon King. After a while, I saw the rare delicacies placed on the rhinoceros officials' table, except for dragon liver and phoenix marrow. Everything else was available, even if Taishikai used it for his own use. It was no more than that. The man on duty brought the wine. Jin poured it into the sky first, and then held it with Simon King. Simon King returned the favor. The two of them sat down, with candies and wine poured over them, and water seemed to be flowing. After drinking for 2 rounds, Simon King said to Jin, "Students are here just to celebrate the birthday of the old master, and to prepare some small gifts to show filial piety to the Grand Master, but I can't think of giving up. It's just that the student has always had a high heart and wants to ask his in-laws to come before him. Report, if you can become a disciple of the Grand Master, your life will not be in vain. I wonder if you can speak up." Jin said, "What's so difficult about this? Although our master is a court minister, he is also very flattering. After seeing such a grand ceremony today, I will not only accept the offer of being a disciple, but also be promoted to an official title." Simon King was overjoyed when he heard that. After drinking enough, Simon King stopped drinking. Butler Zai said, "Please give me another drink. Why don't you eat?" Simon King said, "I have serious business tomorrow, so I don't dare to drink more." After trying to persuade him, he only had another drink. Butler Zai rewarded his entourage with wine and food, and then invited Simon King to rest in the study at the back. The warm bed is ranged under the silk curtains, the silver hook brocade quilt, and the fragrance is delicious. A group of boys help Simon King undress and get into bed. Sleeping alone, Simon King was not used to it in his life, so it was very difficult to survive that night. At dawn, when I was about to get up, the door of the Zai family was heavily covered. It wasn't until the time of signing that someone opened the key together and took it out. Then the boy came into the study with a handkerchief and fragrant soup. After Simon King finished washing up, Butler Zai came out to meet Simon King and sat down. The man on duty brought out a scarlet box with about 30 delicacies in it, and poured wine from a silver jug for breakfast. Jin said, "Please have breakfast. The students will go to the mansion first to tell the master, and then the relatives will bring the gifts in." Simon King said, "Thank you for your trouble." After a few drinks, he took breakfast and left home. Live, Butler Zai said, "Please sit down for a moment, and the students will come as soon as they enter the house." Not long after Jin left, he hurriedly came home and said to Simon King, "The master is washing his clothes in the study." Outside, there are many civil and military officials waiting to pay their respects to him, so we haven't seen each other. The student has already told the master, so let's go in and say congratulations first. The province is home to a mixed crowd. The students will wait for you first, and then the relatives will come. After that, we went. Simon King was very happy. He then asked his followers to recruit a few companions from the Zai family, and first carried the 20 loads of gold and silver satin to the Grand Master's residence, and the group went there in response. Simon King came in a sedan chair with his crown on his head. I saw a commotion and people rubbing shoulders with officials, big and small, who came to celebrate their birthdays. Simon King saw an official coming into Longdafang in a sedan chair from a distance. Simon King took a closer look and recognized him as his old friend Yangzhou Mao Yuanwei. Unexpectedly, the Mao member also saw Simon King outside. They got off the sedan and bowed to each other, talking about the cold weather. It turned out that this Mao member was also a wealthy man, and he was currently working as a casual official. He had always been acquainted with Taishikai. At that time, he came to celebrate his birthday and met an old friend. At that moment, the two of them hurriedly exchanged a few words, asked about their apartment, and parted ways. Simon King came to the Taishi mansion and saw the hall is open and the fields are green, and the smoke is rising from the pavilion. The front door is wide enough for a revolving horse, and the gate is tall enough to erect a flag. Among the brocades, the wind carries the sweet sound of thrushes. Among the piles of gold and silver, the sun reflects the fragrance of beautiful trees and flowers. The living screens on the left and right are illuminated by the red light of Yiguang. The hall is full of dead treasures, pieces of Zhou, Ding, Shang and Yi. There are 12 pearls hanging in the room. Why use lamp oil in the dark night? There are 3,000 pearls on the door. And all the famous people are there during the day. Officials, big and small, from all over the country came to celebrate. The 6 ministers and the governors of the 3 sides all bowed their heads. It's exactly this, apart from the emperor, who was noble for 10,000 years. Only the prime minister of the current dynasty is noble. Simon King Gong entered the gate, followed by Butler Zai. He saw that the middle gate was closed and the officials entered through the corner gate. Simon King then asked, "Why is it that today's big event is happening, but the middle gate is not open?" Guanzai said, "The middle gate used to be a lucky place for officials, so people didn't dare to leave it." Simon King and Jin entered several gates, and there were all military attaches on the door. Guard. Some people are not confused. When they saw Jin, they all leaned forward and asked the steward, "Where are you from?" Butler Zai replied, "I left my family and came to Shandong to pay homage to the master." After that, he walked through a few more doors and turned a few corners. Nothing more. They are painted pillars and carved beams, with golden zhangjiati. I could faintly hear the sound of drums, as if they were in heaven. Simon King asked again, "The houses here are isolated. Where can the loud drum music come from?" Guanzai said, "This is a female musician taught by the master. There are 24 people in a class, and they all know the devil dance, neon dress dance, and Guanyin dance, but everyone the master played for breakfast, lunch and dinner. Now I think it's breakfast." Simon King felt the fragrance in his nose before he heard the music, and the sound of music came closer. Butler Zai said, "This is close to the master's study. Please relax." Turning round the corridor, I saw a hall, like a palace of treasures and a fairy palace. In front of the hall, there are cranes, peacocks, and various rare birds, as well as viburnums, epiphyllums, and mulberry flowers that bloom at all times, blooming sparklingly and overwhelmingly. Before Simon King dared to break in, Butler Zhao Zai went in first, and then walked to the front of the hall one by one. I saw a man in a scarlet python robe sitting on a tiger skin chair in the hall. He was the Grand Master. There were 20 or 30 beauties lined up behind the screen, all of them wearing palace-like makeup, holding scarves and fans, holding him in their arms. Butler Zai also stood aside. Simon King bowed 4 times, and Grand Master Kai also stood up and returned the bow on the velvet sheet. "This is the first time we met." After falling behind, Butler Zai approached Grand Master Kai and whispered a few words secretly. Simon King understood what he said and bowed 4 times, but Grand Master Kai did not respond. "These 4 obeisances are to acknowledge the Godfather, so you receive them." Simon King began to address him as father and son. "My son is very filial to my grandpa. Today is his birthday. I have prepared a few special gifts to express my gratitude for thousands of miles. May my master live as long as Nanshan." Taishi Kai said, "How did this happen?" "Accept it. Please sit down." The person on duty brought a chair up. Simon King bowed upward and said, "Sit down." He sat on the ground to the west and drank tea. Butler Zai ran out in a panic and called everyone carrying gifts to come in. After a while, 20 gifts were ranged at the foot of the stairs. He opened the lid of the cool box and presented a gift, a set of red python robes, a set of official green dragon robes, 20 pieces of Han brocade, 20 pieces of Sichuan brocade, 20 pieces of fire cloth, 20 pieces of western cloth, and the rest. There are a total of 40 pieces of flower rulers, a band of lions and jade, a band of gold inlaid Keenan incense, 10 pairs of jade cups and rhinoceros cups, 8 red gold flower cups, 10 pearls, and another 200 taels of gold. Send it to Master Kai as a gift. Grand Master Kai looked at the ceremony and saw 20 people carrying it. He was very happy and said thank you very much, and asked Butler Zai to put it into the warehouse. On the one hand, he ordered the wine to be entertained. Seeing that he was busy, Simon King stood up and resigned from Grand Master Kai. The Grand Master said, "In that case, come early in the afternoon." Simon King bowed again, stood up and came out. Master Kai sent him off a few steps and then stopped. Simon King still came out of the house with Butler Zai. "If there is something going on in Butler Zai's house, please don't go in." Simon King came back to Zai's house, took off his crown and belt, and had already finished his lunch. After returning to the study, I took a nap. It happened that Master Kai sent someone to invite him to the banquet. Simon King thanked him for some gold and went first. Even after rearranging the crown and belt, he asked Diane to seal many rewards and make a worship box to contain them. Then he followed for young men and rode in a sedan chariot to see the Taishi's mansion. On that day, Taishi Kai, all the civil and military officials from the court came to celebrate, and each invited them to drink. Starting from the next day, it is divided into 3 stops. The first day is for the emperor's relatives and internal ministers. The second day is for ministers, dignitaries and government officials, and the third day is for internal and external officials. Only Simon King came as a distant visitor, and secondly he sent many gifts. Master Kai was very happy when he arrived, so he invited him alone on Zhengri. Seeing Simon King arrive, he hurriedly walked out of the pavilion to greet him. Simon King humbled himself again and said, "Grandpa, go first." He bent his back and stepped gently into the threshold. Master Kai said, "It's hard to come from afar, but it will also harm long ceremony. I'll sit down a little today to show my sincerity." Simon King said, "My child wears the clothes of heaven and earth, all thanks to Grandpa's great blessing. So why bother with this little respect?" The two chattered and laughed, really like a father and son. 24 beauties played music together, and the official on duty poured wine. Grand Master Kai wanted to take a cup with Simon King, but Simon King refused. He only took 1 cup, drank it all immediately, and then sat down at the table. Simon King asked the boy to get a golden peach cup, poured a cup, walked to Grand Master Kai's table, knelt down and said, "May Grandpa live 1,000 years. Grand Master Kai said with joy on his face, "Get up, kid." He took the drink, finished. Simon Kai stood up and sat down again. Needless to say, the gorgeous banquet in the Prime Minister's mansion at that time was full of treasures. And treasures. Simon King drank until dusk, rewarded all the officers with rewards, and then said goodbye. "Grandpa, I thank you for your time. I will not dare to come to see you again in the future." After leaving the house, he went to Jai's house to rest. The next day, when I wanted to pay my respects to the Mao officials, I followed Diane for a day, but ended up staying in the room of Eunuch Li at the back of the imperial city. Diane took the post and reported it, and the Mao members came out to greet him and said, "The student was just looking for a close friend to talk to, and it happened to be a good time." Simon was left to celebrate Yanyan. Simon King couldn't resist, so he had to stay. There are countless things to do in the mountains and sea. There were 2 more singing boys, with handsome features and beautiful eyes. They opened their throats and sang a few songs. Simon King pointed at Diane and Kintong and said to the Mao members, "These idiots can only eat and drink. How can they compare with those 2? Why not just give it to me?" Simon Chinkian thanked him and didn't dare to take away the favor. After drinking deeper, he said goodbye to the Mao members and came to Jai's house to rest. During those days, the ministers in charge of the Prime Minister's office invited each other to drink and stayed for 8 or 9 days. Simon King was so excited to return home that he asked Diane to pack his luggage. Butler Zai struggled to stay, so he had to spend another night drinking and reminiscing about his in-laws. Feeling extremely sentimental, the next day I got up early to say goodbye and headed towards Shandong. It's no problem to stay in the water and enjoy the scenery along the way. Let's talk about Yunyang's family. Ever since Simon King went to Tokyo to celebrate his birthday, every time the sisters looked at each other, they were doing some needlework in the house and couldn't come out to play. Pan Jinlian was the only one who was dressed like a flower and looked like a jade girl. Among the maids, she was either guessing or playing cards, talking or laughing, but she was so crazy that she didn't look good at all. He was laughing and joking, not caring about anyone seeing him, and just thinking about hooking up with Chen Jingji. I just wander around the snow cave in the garden every day, hoping for a lucky break. Jingji was also preoccupied with women, and would come in from time to time to look for trouble. When he saw no one around, he would tease her, kiss her and smack her lips together, only hating that people had too many eyes, and could not enjoy the party as much as they wanted. Exactly. Although I did not enter the Wushan dream, I met the Luo Shui god at the right time. One day, Wu Yunyang, Meng Yulu, and Li Ping'er were sitting on the same ground. Diane hurriedly ran in. Yunyang and everyone kowtowed and reported, "Dad is back." Yunyang asked, "Where are you now?" Diane said, "The younger one rode on the road ahead, holding the horse tech. So he got home first. At this time, it's not even 20 miles away." Yunyang said, "Have you eaten yet?" Anne said, "I've been eating since morning, but I haven't had lunch." Yunyang then ordered the whole meal to be served, and went to the hall to greet her with her 6 Fang sisters and friends. Exactly, the poet is old and the yin-yang is still there, and the young master is busy when he returns. The wives and concubines have been waiting in the hall for a long time. Simon Qingfang got off the sedan in front of the door, and all the wives and concubines came in to welcome him. Simon King met Yunyang first, and then Meng Yulu, Li Ping'er, and Pan Jinlian met in turn, each talking about the cold and warmth. After falling behind, the book boy, piano boy, and painting boy also came to kowtow and go to the kitchen to eat. Simon King explained in detail the hard work on the road and how he stayed at Jai's house, how he appreciated Tai Shikai's kindness and invited him to drink, and how he drank with the minister every day, because he asked Li Ping'er, "How is the child these days? Are the medicines you are taking any of which are effective? Although I am going to Tokyo, I can't focus on home." Li Ping'er said, "The child is fine. I feel a little better after taking the medicine." Yunyang packed up her luggage and the things Grandmaster Kai sent her too, while she cooked and ate with Simon King. In the evening, there was a banquet with Simon King. Simon King rested in Yunyang's room at night. The two are like long drought and sweet rain, meeting old friends in a foreign land. Needless to say, there is joy and love. The next day, Chen Jingji and his eldest sister also came to see him and talked about some of the store's accounts. Ying Earl and Chang Jiji inquired about the house and came to visit. After Simon King came out to meet each other, the two of them said together, "Brother, it's been a hard journey." Simon King then went through the details of Tokyo's gorgeous things and how the Grand Master treated them. The two of them were just filled with admiration. On that day, Simon Xingliu and the two had a day of drinking. Chang Jiji stood up and said to Simon King, "I have something to ask of you. I wonder if I can take care of you." He just lowered his face and half swallowed and half vomited. Simon King said, "But it's okay." Chang Jiji said, "The house I live in is actually inconvenient. I need to find a house to settle down, but I don't have any money. Therefore, I asked my brother to give some money, and I will add some interest in the future. Send it back to my brother." Simon King said, "It's very profitable to get along. I'm busy now, so why don't I wait until the Korean man's cargo ship comes home?" After that, Chang Jiji responded. The Earl thanked him and left without further ado. It is said that Mao Yuan met Simon King and made a promise to 2 singing boys at the banquet, not wanting Simon King to return home. His heart was like an arrow, but he came back on his own without saying goodbye to him. The Mao member also said that Simon King was in Beijing, and his companions came to Jai's house to ask, and then they found out that Simon King's house had gone. The Mao member thought to himself, "A gentleman's word is a whip. I have promised him. How can I break my promise?" So he called 2 singing boys and said, "The day before yesterday, I invited the senior officials from the east gate of Shandong to treat you too. Make a promise to him. I will send you to his house now. You should pack your bags." The 2 singing boys knelt down and said to each other, "I have been serving Yuan for many years, and I don't know how much effort I have put into teaching him. How can I give these songs to others if I don't leave behind my own joy?" After saying this, I burst into tears. The member was also feeling miserable and unhappy, and said, "What you are saying is, why should we give it away? It's just, people have no faith, and they don't know what to do. How could it be contrary to what Saint Kong said? Now, it's not up to you. When we finish the book, I'll send someone to send it to you, just to make him look down on you." The 2 singing boys couldn't resist, so they had to agree. The Mao member asked the doorkeeper to write a letter to express his feelings for the singing boy. He also wrote a gift list, sealed some ruler-headed handkerchiefs, sent family members Mao Shi to write the letter, and escorted the 2 singing boys to Simon King's house. The 2 singing boys said goodbye to the members with tears in their eyes, got on their horses, and meandered towards Shandong Avenue together. One day when they arrived in King County, The three of them dismounted for a visit and went all the way to the king's mansion, in the west gate of the county archway to drop off. But he said that since Simon King came home from Tokyo, he has been busy every day, giving gifts, inviting drinks, and making friends every day, so he has never been to the Yamen. I had nothing to do that day, so I went to the Yamen to raise the hall to draw the prisoners, and to interrogate the prisoners one by one with Chia Tixing. After interrogating him for half a day, he finished his business and took a sedan chair. Several prisoners shouted and came home. I saw that Mao Shi and the two singing boys had been waiting for a long time, so they followed Simon King's sedan to the front hall, knelt down and said, "The younger one is from Yangzhou Mao Yuan. There is a book to pay homage to my father. Present the book and gift." Simon King said quickly, "Please get up." He opened the door and looked at it carefully. Seeing that he was gifting him a singing boy, he was overjoyed and said, "You and I met unexpectedly, and I fell in love with you just because I didn't expect it. After a few words after drinking, we really gave it to each other, and I didn't worry about traveling thousands of miles to send it. You are really a rich man. It's a promise. It's rare. It's rare." The two singing boys walked over again, kowtowed for times, and said, "The young ones outside are here to wait on me. I beg you to have a good look." Simon King said, "Get up. I will naturally take advantage of it." On the one hand, he asked for food and wine, and took care of Mao Shi and the two singing boys. On the other hand, he organized generous gifts, such as silk and soft silk, and repaired books to thank the staff. On the other hand, he asked the singing boys to serve him in the study. Unexpectedly, Han Daoguo's wife Wang Liuer, because she saw that Simon King was busy with things and had to send messages frequently, and no one came back. She planned to send his brother Wang Jing, who was only 15 or 16 years old and handsome, to serve Simon King. Also entered the door on this day. Simon King accepted it and was also called to serve in the study. Simon King was making arrangements in the hall when the Earl suddenly came over. Simon King told him that he knew about the Mao members sending out singers, so he asked Diane to bring some food and wine, and left him to sit while he asked two singers to sing southern songs. The two singing boys approached the banquet, stood side by side, holding sandalwood boards in their hands, and sang a set of New Water Order and Last Night in the Small Garden with River Plum Blossoms. As expected, the sound was like clouds and white snow. When the Earl heard this, he was overjoyed and praised, "Brother, it is a great blessing to have these wonderful people to send you to the future. It is hard to be kind to this Mao member." Simon King said, "I must find a big gift to repay him." He also gave the singing boy two names. One was called Chun Hung and the other was called Chun Yin. He was asked to sing a few short lyrics, and the two of them had a drink before the Earl left. Exactly, the wind and flowers make shadows, and the new Orioles sing. All of them are singers and dancers before the feast.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.